Hey everybody, it is May the 4th, so may the 4th be with you, and Tristan, may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you as well, my friend.
And it's funny because it is not May the 4th when we're recording, but it's coming out on May the 4th, so,
Oh, well, you let the cat out of the bag.
I mean,
Or, sorry, you let
yeah,
the loth cat out of the bag.
right, yes, of course, Star Wars creature. So, he could be making these up, I have no idea. Point
You didn't
is,
even see that series yet, and you still picked up on that. I'm happy.
well, I assumed you wouldn't be talking about something from literally any other fucking franchise on May the 4th on a Through the Force episode.
You don't know.
I'm going to safely assume. By the way, again, thank you all so much for listening in. Today we are talking about Star Wars Visions. As always, we are late to things. We are usually fashionably, yes. It is hard to be punctual when content is coming out at every single fucking corner. And I say content because literally just everything, music, movies, TV shows, YouTube stuff, just everything coming out, all video games, pro wrestling for me, every Japanese superheroes also for me. So much stuff
All
that
of the things.
this came out. I'm sorry to do this to you, Tristan. Actually, it didn't come out that long ago. September 22nd of 2021.
Yep.
So not. It's still 2021, which we're sitting here in May, and it's like, oh god. But we are not as delayed as we usually are. And I've heard mixed things about this show. I've either heard that it was amazing or that it was like, eh. And so I didn't know what was going to happen coming into this. Again, I've heard mixed things, usually more so in one direction or the other. I haven't really heard people go, "Oh, it was mild." I haven't heard that. So people have had from what I've seen online, very harsh opinions one way or the other. So I was like, "Okay, what am I getting myself into?" And then I saw this, and this is quite frankly one of the best Star Wars TV show things that I've seen in a while. Now, it's frustrating to talk about because for someone, like, I'm sure there's people out there that are like, wait, so you've seen all of Clone Wars? And that's the thing, I haven't. But that's the thing, I haven't. So if I finish Clone Wars, especially season 7, maybe that changes my mind on where Visions ranks from what I've seen so far. But when it comes to stuff that I've seen of Star Wars TV, especially stuff that we've podcasted on, Star Wars Droids, Star Wars Ewoks, Star Wars Caravan of Courage, which, by the way, everything that I just mentioned, it's on Disney Plus now.
I know.
That actually blows my mind. I never would have expected them. You know what's really funny though? I pissed myself. The Christmas special is not on Disney Plus, but that little animated short in the Christmas special is on Disney Plus.
Yeah, the Lego one.
No. Shut the fuck up. No. It's too late for this. You actually got me for a second.
I'm not lying though.
No, the animated short from within the Star Wars Christmas special. That's not the Lego special. It's not a short within the fucking special. It is the special.
But yeah, Boba Fett's first appearance.
Yes. Super weird that that's there, but not the Christmas special. Don't get me wrong.
Part of that exists.
No, but I think it's just so funny that they would be like, no, because they named it something that made me go, what is this? And then I Googled it and I found out it was from the special, and I'm like, wow, that is hilarious.
They should have just titled it, because Boba Fett's cool, right? I don't know.
Right? But the point is that we've only seen 2.5 seasons. I mean, I say we, but like we for the podcast. You've seen the whole thing. I have seen only 2.5 seasons of Clone Wars. I saw the movie. You have as well. The 2003 series that was done by Tartakovsky.
Tartakovsky,
thank you.
Miniseries.
Yes, the creator of Samurai Jack, and also Primal as well. And so when you look at all those shows, from what I've seen of them, I haven't seen, Resistance, I haven't seen Rebels, I haven't seen any of the other TV stuff. I have seen Mandalorian, of course, again for the show, but season 2 was a bit lacking. So compared to season 1, so when I look at everything I've seen recently of Star Wars, especially comparing it to episode 9, and kind of just slowly making me go, I don't know about Star Wars. Visions has completely sold me. And it's a little weird because I don't necessarily want a sequel. And that's the interesting thing about Visions for me. I just want to see more fun stories in the Star Wars universe that don't have to be part of some grand either Skywalker or just in general some grand Jedi or Sith scheme, conspiracy rising up. None of that, right? It can just be these small little stories at different points in the history of Star Wars that aren't necessarily canon, but some of them aren't even technically not canon. Like there's still things that could technically happen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's the breath of fresh air that a lot of people like-minded with you, Matt, is that, we're not constricted by canon in these, and that we can just take our time, tell a fun story, have a fun episode, and move on with our lives. We don't have to watch 9 other different films and 3 other different television series to understand the scope of what's actually going on. Which I understand. I get that.
Well, here's the reason why, right? It's not so much, again, I'm not shitting on something like Clone Wars, but when you watch something like Clone Wars, right, it's not that so much, oh, it's about a Skywalker, it's about Anakin. No, but it is about something that did take place, within the series. Not so much that you know where it's going to end, but that, it's something that did take place within the canon of the films. When you look at even did Rebels, I know that I'm already forgetting the name of the shows, but the 2 animated shows that they did, right? There was Rebels, and then there was, what was the other one again?
Resistance,
thank you. Resistance did have cameos from the main series, right?
Yes, it did.
Rebels did not?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So again, short little cameos to be fair, but solidifying them, no, this has to take place here because look at so-and-so. Again, not a bad thing necessarily is, I'm not saying they can't stand on their own, but having this nice little treat of these stories that they can still fit in canon, but I don't have to hear Mark Hamill come back as much as I want to as Luke Skywalker. I can hear him come. If he wanted to be in, like, if they could get him for this show, that would have been fun. If he was just someone else completely, right?
Yeah, honestly, that would have been interesting.
Yes, because this is a show that you and I only saw the dub. Am I right in saying that about you?
Yeah.
Yes, so the English dub, because there are multiple different audio tracks, just like any other streaming service would have nowadays. But what's interesting is that it seems like both the English and Japanese track had their, at least in the, like with what I'm looking up online, have their fair share of big names in general. I don't want to go through every single actor, especially, I mean, we could be here all day if we do, but I'm going to try, at least on the English side, to get some names that I think you and I would both know. Actually, hold on one fucking second. First of all, I love your cat. That wasn't what stopped me, but I love your cat. I clearly, I don't know which cat this is, but I know that they definitely love Star Wars Visions as much as I do, because I am also internally purring. Now, what I want to say, though, Tristan, is the reason why I was actually stopped in my tracks is because I said, let's focus on the English side a bit more. Holy fucking shit. Thank you for the ASMR, Tristan.
That's Patches.
Yes. So Toby, or Toby 1?
TOB1.
Yes.
Yeah, Toby.
Yes. The voice of Toby in the Japanese dub was Masako Nozawa.
Oh, shit.
Yes, the voice of Goku in the Japanese version of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT and all of them. All of them has been her.
All of them, yes.
All of them, yes. Nice. That is so fucking amazing.
That's really cool, actually.
That's fucking beautiful. Holy shit. So... And on the English side, you have a lot of big name celebrities, which is funny because before we get into the names, I think that some of the biggest thing that was lacking in this entire, the one thing I can go, that's definitely a criticism, is the dub or is the voiceover work. And I think it's because a lot of them, not every single actor, but a lot of them are seemingly live action, either mostly or only. And then you can tell, there's something a little off here. And then when you find the name of the person, you go, oh, they don't have a lot of work in this field. Versus some other actors who maybe kind of just slid in and you were like, wow, it seems like they're They're acting their butt off. They're just like this character. And then you find out that, well, they've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
So it's interesting to notice. So looking at episode 3 in particular, the twins, the one where they had both Kare and Anne going just one-on-one.
Yeah.
In that one, it was Car or was it Kare? Because it's been about a weekish since I've seen it.
I believe it was Kari. Yeah.
He was voiced by Neil Patrick Harris.
Huh.
Which, again, if I'm remembering correctly, looking at Neil Patrick Harris's history of stuff, he hasn't done a lot of voiceover work.
Yeah,
He's
that's
done
an interesting choice.
Oh, you're gonna know,
especially since it's. I know that was the episode Studio Trigger animated for that episode too.
Well, yeah, when it came to the English version, I think that was more of they had a U.S. casting director and stuff like that. That had nothing to do with the animation companies or any, that's a Disney decision, quote unquote. But they had animation directors and whatnot. We saw them, and at the end of every episode, they were listed. So I immediately saw names and was like, what? And now I have them in front of me. So he's done a few video games, but I haven't seen anything in animation, I believe. Although it's funny, some of it's being some of it may be thrown in with film and television, so it might be a bit hard to, like, he was in Static Shock, so maybe he actually was. So what I find interesting too is if it isn't he was actually a Spider-Man, I forgot, in that 2003 Spider-Man series. So I take back, he has done voiceover work. So what might be the problem with him and some other actors that, at least personally, I found a bit more wooden? There is a very good chance that, despite the fact that it's Disney, when it came to the voiceover work, at least in English, there was not a huge budget there, as much as there should have been. So
either that, or they just didn't get much direction with scenes, and it was just read the line and throw some emotion into it if you feel so.
Yes, and it gets very hard directing some bigger name actors, because you want to be able to, this is what I've heard from some in the industry, you want to be able to direct them properly, but it's Neil Patrick Harris. Right. So you're trying, but also you don't necessarily want to step on toes. So in no way am I putting this on the director. I don't know their name. I want to say it was Stephanie Shea, who is amazing in the industry. She's done a ton of different roles. She actually was a few characters in Visions, but I don't want to put it on her. I believe she was the director, or she was part of the casting director. But either way, before we get to her, I just want to talk about a few other people you might know. In episode 2, Tatooine Rhapsody, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was Jay.
Oh yeah, the hut that was the bassist, right? Or the main character.
No, it's the main character, you're right. At least right on the second try. But it is funny though, because that's another kind of, it's not this show's fault, but in certain episodes I can go, oh, of course this was so and so and that was so and so, but in other ones they literally had some people's name just said like once, and because they're shorts, you're just gonna you're never gonna pick up on it again. But when it came to Jay, the main character in that one, that was Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which that blew my mind because I didn't even notice that was him. He's been in a ton of shit. He's been in, I'm thinking of anything you might know. Oh, he was in that 70s show, but that was very brief. Oh, that's really funny. He was in The Last Jedi, but he was slow and low. I don't know who that is.
I'm not sure either.
That's perfectly fine. He has been in, it's funny, it's a lot of stuff that, like, in my mind I'm like, wait, Tristan probably doesn't know this or this or this. He was in The Dark Knight Rises. He was John Blake. He was the cop.
Okay.
Have you seen Dark Knight Rises? Have you not?
I do not recall.
That's the movie with Bane.
Actually, I don't think I have.
You're a lucky person. You would know his face if you probably saw it, but
yeah, exactly.
The point is that when you keep on
I recognized the voice when I heard it.
One person I know that you don't know, Geezer, was played by Bobby Moynihan. He was actually an SNL alumni. What's fascinating to me is that they actually got Tamora Morrison to be Boba Fett, or Temuera Morrison to be Boba Fett. So they actually brought him. Because he sounded like him, and I was like, no, that can't be him. And the fact that they actually got his actor from Book of Boba Fett, from Mandalorian Season 2, to reprise his role for this, I think is fascinating, because they easily could have just gotten D. Bradley Baker again.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of shocked that they didn't. And but moving on to some other episodes as well. Oh, so Allison Brie, who I definitely know that you don't know, but again, she's another big name actress. She was in Mad Men, and she's been in a bunch of other stuff as well. She was Am in The Twins. So it's very interesting. See, oh, by the way, in the first episode, even The Duel, which, by the way, set the tone for the whole fucking series. Brilliant, The Duel. Yeah. Lucy Liu was the bandit leader.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, she was the Sith.
Yes, but I think it's fascinating. I was like, wait, Lucy Liu, really? Like, from the Charlie's Angels movies and from a bunch of other shows, Ally McBeal. Just so much shit that, like, if you see her face, you'd be like, oh, of course, Lucy Liu. It's just so interesting seeing the amount of people. Brian T, who I don't know personally, but I don't know from anything that I haven't seen the stuff that he's been in, but looking at this, I'm like, wait, oh, Chicago Med, I've seen that on TV in passing. Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, okay. He played the Ronin in the first episode. Right. It's really cool just looking at the large cast, and again, I don't think all of them delivered, but to even see that, like, they tried to do a celebrity cast, but from what I noticed, and I think I could say this about you too, they didn't heavily promote it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I remember seeing ads for it, and I mean, granted, it was probably mostly when I was engaging with Mandalorian seasons. But...
Oh, no, I don't mean ads for, like, the show, but ads saying, like, Neil Patrick Harris is in Star Wars Visions.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
And that's what I find fascinating. Like, they're just like, no, Star Wars is going to sell itself, okay?
Yeah,
we're going to get these big celebrities, and then we're not even going to talk about them. Like, that's fascinating to me.
I definitely think they went more for the various animation studios working on Star Wars stories angle than they did of, star-studded cast.
But that's beautiful, because they still have the star-studded cast. I'm like, that's very... I mean, David Harbour was in The Elder. He was Taijin Crosser, so that was like the guy that was he was training the younger guy.
Yeah, the master.
Yes,
he was the master. Jedi master.
Yes, he was David Harbour, and if you're like, Matt, I don't know who the fuck that is. He was in that show that you haven't seen yet called Stranger Things.
Cool.
He was also in that movie you haven't seen yet, Black Widow. He was the Red Guardian.
Nice.
He's also in that other movie you haven't fucking seen.
For fuck's sake, Matt.
Well, no, to be fair, this one I also haven't seen as well. He was Hellboy in the new Hellboy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't seen that, to be fair. But I'll keep on naming movies he's been in that you haven't seen.
Nice.
He was in the 2016 version of The Suicide Squad, and to be fair, that's okay that you haven't seen it.
Okay.
It's just fine. But his voice was another voice I was like, this guy sounds very familiar. Where in the fuck is he from?
Taking shots on things that aren't even part of this podcast. Nice.
but I just find it fascinating that, again, we keep on seeing more and more names here that I'm just like, really? They got so-and-so? They got so-and-so? Oh, that's interesting. I know. Oh, wow, that's funny. In Toby, the voice of Mitaka, the professor, was actually voiced by Kyle Chandler. That is not a name I would have recognized immediately at all. Nothing against him, I just have not seen a lot of stuff that he's been in. But funnily enough, you've seen some stuff that he's been in, and so have I. We've podcasted on it. He was Dr. Mark Russell in Godzilla King of the Monsters. He was the dad.
Oh, shit. That's... Okay, definitely would have never guessed that.
No, like, it's... Because, again, some of them really did, like... They slipped into their roles, even though I didn't notice that it was Neil Patrick Harris. I just was confused about the performance. But I still didn't know it was Neil Patrick Harris, interestingly enough. It's not that all of them who were bigger actors were, like, just kind of were... Like, you sit there and you're like, oh, of course it's so-and-so. Maybe if you're, like, a huge fan of their work, but some of the voices I was, like, kind of familiar, but I just didn't really... really know.
Yeah, couldn't place it.
Yes. But he has done some voiceover work, but not much. So I find it, again, very interesting that I think the professor, he did a very good job as the professor.
Yeah, I
But
thought his voice fit really nicely.
yeah, no. But again, I think that tell me if I'm wrong here, if you disagree, the voice acting was the weakest part because every other part of this show was just out of this world fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest. I really wasn't concerned with the voices. I was more focused on just how smooth a lot of this animation looked and just the niceties that they picked out, like really cool elements from Star Wars as a whole. It felt like people gathered around the table and said, "You know, this moment from this film that was really cool. What if we tossed, what if we tossed a few of those together in a 20-minute, fun thing?" Like just moments that are mirrored throughout the films, like in the Twins with like the hyperspace ramming when the brother slices the Star Destroyer in half, or I know, yeah, Tatooine Rhapsody, just seeing a Padawan completely lose their life as a Jedi, but then find a new life as something completely different throughout the galaxy. Um, just small, cool little moments. Like the Elder really reminds me of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fighting Darth Maul. Just small little parallels. Toby fighting against an Inquisitor, really reminding me, harkening back to Rebels, because they're a big part of that. Just various different things here and there. Just really nice reflections, but doing their own thing.
That's the thing, that last thing you said, doing their own thing. That's what I love about it the most because for me, right, for the most part, I didn't see any of those references you're referring to, and yet just little things like the Jedi. It's funny. There are people out there that are like, "Hey, they should stop using Jedi," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I think they can continue to use Jedi. I'm fine with that." But again, just move away from the cast that we've gotten to know and love throughout the years because their time, like it's been their time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're good in my opinion. Maybe make a TV show about Luke if you want to, but like in terms of actually like telling a story just without like away from them, like you it's fine, you can do that. And I think that when you look at different things that we've seen throughout the series, just different characters popping up, like the first episode, right? I did not think we would see a Sith, and then we did. And then the Ronin is essentially also a Sith as well, or at the very least has his Jedi his laser sword was red.
Yes.
Yes, I will always call it a laser sword. By the way,
I mean, it's hilarious because in that one specifically, they literally are laser swords. He even draws it out of the sheath, which is fucking phenomenal.
I know.
I honestly, I love that stylistic choice, like representing a lightsaber as more like an actual sword. That's just really cool to me. My father too. We watched all of these together. Me and my whole family actually. Both my parents, because they're both really diehard Star Wars fans too. But just the Kurosawa like choreography, even the like sketchy like black and white animation too for the duel, harkens back to the original Kurosawa films.
No, dude, it was. I mean, it was the perfect.
Yeah, it
opener.
literally feels like a love letter.
No, it's a love letter, but it's also the perfect opener to the series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You want to, even though that one, it's so funny compared to the other ones. That one was the most. Hey, we're not anywhere near canon.
Yeah.
But again, a great way to start, and also setting the tone that people can die here. You're not going to see copious amounts of blood, which I'm also fine with. But people are going to die. They're going to get sliced. They're going to get stabbed. It's something that when I look at Star Wars, when it comes to humans, if I'm remembering correctly, they don't usually show like someone getting stabbed. Usually.
Yeah, in the major films, no.
Exactly. If something bad happens to someone, they better have some makeup on, or they better be a fucking robot. But in this case, it's just very interesting to see, what, it's not so much that I want more brutality, it's just that the reality is these laser swords are going to hurt people.
Yeah.
They're not always going to be parried. Who's going to win? And how are they going to win? And when they win, how does it look? And
Right.
seeing that, again, just starting off in the first episode, I thought, oh, fuck, okay. So it's not so much, I don't want to be the kind of person that's like, oh, this is a serious show for adults, not for like babies. Like, no, 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 no.
No, but that it has a sense of realism and that life and death have meaning and that it is a natural, like death is a natural part of life. It will occur.
Yes, although that was much longer, but yes, basically that. Um, what I, no, essentially that, yes, but you're just like, you took it to the, I'm trying to think of the flowing river explanation. Where
Like
mine
that's a little
where
more philosophical, I suppose.
where mine was more so the it's slice and dice. Oh, and we also have Kamikaze Doga. I don't know where that one went. I actually I had that open and I can't find it now, and I was like, wait a minute, what happened? So either way, though, it is, and some of these studios, even if you don't know them by name, you know them. Like for
Yeah.
instance, Kamikaze Doga actually worked on the opening. So it says opening animation. I assume that means the animation for the actual opening theme for Stardust Crusaders, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Nice.
Also, the opening animation for Stone Ocean.
Yeah.
They're mostly known for working on shorts, so seemingly like opening or ending animation. But it's still really cool that they actually did that, and they worked on this series. And we'll talk about which ones did what in a bit. Studio Colorado ended up, you might know them from Burn the Witch, and you might not. Oh, they did do some original net animation, so basically some internet stuff. Essentially, the less nicer way of putting it, stuff like Pokemon Twilight Wings, Poketoon. I don't know what that is. And of course, they did Star Wars Visions as well. So they haven't done too much, but I still thought they were interesting, and I'll talk about what they did in a bit. But Geno Studio actually ended up doing. Seemingly, they worked on Golden Kamui. Kokoku, I do not know what that is. I thought I did for a second. A show called Pet, I do not know what that is, and something called Shine On Bakumatsu Boys, which is very interesting. They are also doing the movie Genocidal Organ, which is like a 3-parter by an amazing creator who sadly passed away too early in life, and so now his stuff has been getting anime adaptations. And we also had Studio Trigger as well. I would imagine many of you know what Studio Trigger is, but in the off chance that you don't, hopefully you watch some of their stuff. They've done Gridman. They've done the Gridman anime. They've done its sequel, Dynazemon. They've also done Little Witch Academia, Space Patrol Luluko. They've also done Kill la Kill. And they've also done the film versions of Little Witch Academia as well. They did Promare, which was huge in 2019. And it's just, they are very, very fun. Like, their stuff is really funny. And also, looking at some US stuff they did, I didn't know they did this. For the opening, it says season 2 opening animation production for this one show. They did Black Dynamite. I assume the opening for season 2 of Black Dynamite. Huh. They also worked on, it says here, production assistance on Steven Universe.
Right, yeah, I think I've heard that.
So that's really cool. And they even came back to do the Kill la Kill game, which I have some issues with the game. I'll talk about that. I'm trying to do a review for it or for our Game Time channel. Just need to like kind of finish the script up and record it and everything. But while I have some issues with it, the animation was actually really good. Like, it made me feel like I was watching an episode of the TV show. Makes sense that it says development supervision, so at the very least they did work on it in some capacity. So Studio Trigger, I want to say they're the most well-known out of these studios, but then you also have Production IG, which have done so fucking much. Oh my god, they did Blue Seed. Remember we podcasted on Blue Seed a long time ago? It was that show in the future with the bugs.
No, that was Blue Gender, wasn't it?
Fuck.
Yeah.
Do I cut that out or do I not? Oh, they did Metabots, Parappa the Rapper, again anime, Ghost in the Shell standalone complex,
There we go.
Komurati High
Yeah.
School, Blood Plus, Immortal Grand Prix, so IGPX.
Yeah.
Um, so much. Again, I can keep on going on and on and on. Sengoku Basara,
Yeah, Studio
FLCL.
IG was definitely one that I recognized,
Oh
or
yeah.
that I didn't at first, but then I looked at some of the titles because I was looking up the various animation studios even before, like before Visions came out, because I was like, oh, I wonder what they've, what everybody's worked on before, just to get maybe an idea of how their episode would go. And I saw some of them, and I was like, oh damn, oh shit. I'm like, we got a huge lineup here. This is gonna be great.
Oh, another short that they did. I think we talked about this. I forgot when we recently did, but I know that we did. It might have actually, it was probably on the Toonami episode that we did, the retrospective. They actually did a short for Batman Gotham Knight as well. So it's cool to see that they've actually gotten work in shorts outside of just doing anime. It's pretty interesting to see. And also want to talk about as well Kinema Citrus, who I don't know too much about them. At least I thought I didn't. And then I see that they did Made in Abyss, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
There you go.
Dot Hack Quantum, Black Bullet. I don't know Barakamon. I don't know much about that. The Rising of the Shield Hero. I've heard about that.
Yeah.
So it's just so cool to see so many different studios come together. And like I said before, I really love that that's what Disney pushed. And that's what Disney said. No, no, no. That's the marketing here, is that they're different studios.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do the whole, oh yeah, here are these celebrity actors. It's kind of like the reverse Ghibli, where like Ghibli obviously did try to promote the fact that yes, they're not when I say Ghibli, I mean like the U.S. companies licensing Ghibli
Right.
stuff, where it feels like yes, they were saying, hey, these are some cool movies that we have, but they were also like they had a lot of star-studded casts. Christian Bale, Batman, live action Batman was in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh,
It's
right. Yeah.
it's very interesting to see how many actors are like big name actors, and I would argue were even big at the time, were
Yeah.
in Studio Ghibli films. So looking at the actors here, and there's still so many more we can get into. Before we do, I want to ask, what was your favorite short?
Oh, you're gonna do this to me. I was gonna do this to you first,
Ah,
but
this is.
here we are.
I think this is the duel. I think we just reenacted the duel.
Yeah. It's actually really tough for me to pick a favorite. Um, but all right, so I'm gonna have a very unpopular opinion, and I don't care. Tatooine Rhapsody actually has a very a soft spot in my heart. Just because basically a Jedi Padawan survives Order 66 and then becomes the lead singer in a band, and that's how he gets out of being murdered, and he keeps his lightsaber and uses it as an actual microphone.
Yeah, it's funny. That one, when I first saw Boba Fett, I was like, I was like, come on, like, we didn't have to have Boba Fett in it. But because of the minimal role that he really played throughout the whole thing, and it was focused on Jay and the rest of the cast, I was like, you know what, actually, it was an amazing episode. Like,
And I'll pose the same question that Boba did to Jay. You really want to do this, kid?
yes, sure, right. I just think that it was if the first episode, if the duel was the best first episode to kind of have you understand what the series could be, the second was even a greater second episode to show you that, hey, listen, Boba Fett could be here. It's not that we're not going to have any Jedi at all or anything like that. I mean, yes, technically there were, people using laser swords in the first one, but to be fair, that was so non-canon. That was the most non-canon-y, non-canon thing out of all of these episodes.
And I feel like it shows kind of two polar opposites, ideas of presenting Jedi. And that's one overarching point for multiple seasons for Visions. Whereas this season basically revolves around the Jedi and Sith, or the Force itself, as a main factor in the Star Wars universe. I feel like subsequent seasons could focus around other types of characters, like a season based around smugglers themselves, or just people living in the Outer Rim or in the core. I feel like there are various different themes that you could do episodes of Visions on.
It worries me because while I enjoy your idea, I think if they ever do another season, they would just continue some of these stories somehow.
True. The Duel actually has a novel that is a continuation that a friend of mine, actually also fellow podcaster Anthony Toto, got for me.
See,
So
that I like
yeah,
because it can be its own little thing.
right.
It doesn't really, conflict with Visions at all. By God, though, if they do a season 2 and they end up continuing the Duel and it's different than the novel, that literally got legended in like fucking record time.
Yeah, right. But for my earlier point, I like how the Duel and Tatooine Rhapsody are very opposite each other. The first one has a very strong, swordsman, and that is what he is, and that is always what he will be. And then the second one is, somebody a Jedi who never got the chance to be a Jedi, and really ends up finding out, like, they're going up against Jabba the Hutt. Like, obviously they want to save their friend because he saved Jay when he was in his greatest time of need. So he wants to go and help his friend, but he knows he can't win in a forward fight. You're going up against one of the biggest gangsters in the galaxy. But the fact that he basically uses his survival instinct and just his smarts and relying on the band to be like, hey, we can make you money, Jabba. Wouldn't that be better than just killing him here and now? And the fact that that's what literally their music is what saves them in the end, and he doesn't. I think the best shot of him just looking back when the Gamorrean sees the lightsaber that is a microphone in his hand, he goes, and the Gamorrean's about to be like, oh, that's a weapon. He's like, dude, relax. It's just a microphone.
Yes.
And that line really got to me, and I love that scene of just him looking back and like, no, he's confident in his new life choice, and like he's going to push forward in his life as just being a musician, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, and the way he turned the crowd, the whole band, the way they turned the crowd like in their favor, through the power of music, it's one of those things where you would never see this in anything else. Like, this would never be in a movie.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was in another animated TV show, but it probably wouldn't be. Like, this is one of those things that, like, okay, yeah, like, you can do something weird and different like this,
right,
and it'd still be fun. Like,
and it still feels like it's still a part of the universe. Like,
yes.
Like, obviously you want to have Jedi and Sith having their amazing laser sword battles. Like, don't get me wrong, I am 100% front row and center here for that. But this is a medium that you can take those winding, weaving paths of exploring, what it means to be these characters a little bit more, or what it means to be a Jedi, or what it means to take a different path. Like, just because you're a Force user doesn't mean you have to adhere to the Jedi code either, and that's something that's looked at in various other different series as well. I know Rebels really heavily deals with that.
And this one was done by Studio Colorido. So again, they're the ones that ended up doing, they have also done in the past Pokemon Twilight Wings, Poketoon, whatever that is. And nothing else that I know about. I mean, maybe you've heard of some of these films. Typhoon Noruda, Penguin Highway, A Whisker Away. Oh, of course, Burn the Witch, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't heard of most of these, but still, I enjoyed what they did with this short, because again, it showed, like you said, a different side of the universe that could technically be part of the universe, but it also showed, in my opinion, when you look at the structure of the episodes, how different this show can be in a good way. So
then I'll reverse this on you, Matt. What is your favorite?
I plead the fifth. You are not an officer of the law. You actually don't have a warrant.
All right. I mean, I'm going to be kicking your door in with my laser sword either way, so...
Says the man who has a fucking goddamn Vader mask. Yeah, fucking hell. Look, it's very difficult because I think it's Toby. Only because that one made me cry.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I really enjoyed that episode too,
well,
and
the
like the
reason,
Astro Boy parallels are amazing.
well, yes, but I think the reason why that's the case for me is because, I cried because it's like he's continuing the professor's work. He's brought life to the planet, and he will bring life to other planets, and the fact that a robot like an straight up robot, not an android, not like no, I built you, because like in some media when it's like, oh, is that a robot? No, no, it's an android. That means that it's a person that's been augmented with cyborg technology or a cyborg. But like in this case, it's like no, it's a plain old robot, no human parts whatsoever, and yet the force flows through him. That is
Right.
a beautiful kind of way to just talk about the force,
Yeah.
because again, so much in the movies, and they weren't trying to, but they eventually became, well, of course the force flows through you. You're wealthy and powerful. You're connected to someone very powerful. They didn't mean to at first, because at first it was like, no, this is just a group of rapscallions and scoundrels and stuff. But then as time went on, when they get more and more into the lore, it's just like, no, it's a part of your lineage, which is very important.
Right.
Remember the force, and like again, not just with Toby, but also with the Elder as well, talking about like the force flows through everyone. It's just stronger. I believe that was in the Elder. They said it's stronger in some people more than others, but the force flows through actually, no, it wasn't the Elder, it was the Ninth Jedi.
Yeah.
That's the one they honed that in, right? That's important. It's very important to
Or oh, I was gonna say you might be thinking more of like the Village Bride. Um,
you know what, that's a good point. Well, that's the funny thing, it's happened in different ways and to different degrees, multiple
True.
different episodes in the series, which is the fucking point of Star Wars.
Right.
Right, there was a point where it seemed as if Rey was just going to be some person,
Right.
and that was cool.
Yeah.
Right, her parents were nobody.
And then that got turned up on upside its head.
So I've heard people have fucking called me a nobody. Well, fuck you. So like that, so like that's the thing, right? Like to have this show reinforce that beautiful message that any one of us could fight against the Empire. We just have to band together. Any one of us can have the force flowing through us. We just cannot fall to hate.
Yeah.
We cannot fall to temptation to do something that we should not do, because then you fall into the dark side. But what you should be doing is you should be, trying to bring life to the fucking planet. And that's why I fucking loved Toby. Um, I do love the Ninth Jedi and the twist that I did not expect. And it's frustrating because also the Village Bride started off so fucking gorgeous that I was like mesmerized.
Yeah.
And you would think, oh, but like episode 3, the twins, that was also gorgeous. Yes, it was, but gorgeous in a way that like, and I'm not knocking the twins, but or Studio Trigger, of course, but it was shonen.
Yeah.
So it's not that something that I've seen before necessarily, but in a way I've seen Studio Trigger do that before.
Right.
So seeing Toby, something that I've at least I haven't seen, and to be honest, also haven't seen from Star Wars, because like when we go back to episode 4, remember how they treated droids?
Oh yeah. And it's funny, like people have gone back and kind of lore wise it actually kind of makes sense, because obviously the Clone Wars had ended only a few years previous and the droids were feared and hated throughout the galaxy. So like people being really like, hey, get, like the barkeep when Luke walks in, he says, you're droids, we don't serve their kind, get them out of here.
But it's frustrating because without that newer context, they look like they're second class citizens.
Oh yeah, and I mean that even brings the idea of like, oh well, droids are sentient, aren't they? So then why are they just subservient to all organics? And that's another, like, to add on to why you were saying Toby is beautiful, is like you said, Toby is seemingly completely inorganic, and yet the Force still flows through Toby. Like the Force does not see you as organic, inorganic, or anything. Luminous beams are we, like Yoda says, not this crude matter. The Force sees Toby for who kind of what Toby sees themselves as, you know, a Jedi and a hero and a kind soul and someone who wants to help and bring life, that kind of thing.
Oh, and the fact that actually it's very funny. Wasn't Toby the one where they did the distraction that Toby could then use his energy beam, or was that? No, no, no. They did that in the Elder.
Yeah.
It was very funny to see a Dragon Ball Z esque fucking setup like against Cell. That's literally what it was. It was a distraction from the guy on the ground.
Right, yeah. He throws his lightsaber at him and catches him for just a split second. Yeah, no, that duel is so good too.
Also,
And the
by the
fact
way,
his master just turns off the blade and turns it right back on and gets him.
and I have to say, again, it's getting very hard to choose which one's my favorite because when you look at the Elder, I also love the stranger in the night kind of story. The idea that they never know this guy's name. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't dislike something like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or like Halloween, right? However, as those series go on, you start to learn more and more about the lore of these characters. It is super interesting when there's a movie, especially some of the first ones. I mean, to be fair, Friday the 13th, I'm sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street, the first movie had all the lore that you needed. But when it came to Friday the 13th and even Halloween, right, you start learning more and more. Like Halloween, for instance, right? In the first one, Michael Myers was not Laurie's brother.
Right.
That happened in the second one. So as the series goes on, that's when you start learning more about Mike Myers or Michael Myers and like the history behind him and stuff like this and like weird cultish stuff. But in the first movie, he was just a complete fucking murderous psychopath. So here, seeing the Elder, it is a very interesting trope that we've seen time and time again in some pieces of media, that it's just the like, you're walking down you're walking down the street, right, in a big city, it's late at night, someone tries to stab you, you fight them off, but you never learn why. They never tell you why. They're never like, oh, I need the money. Listen, give me your wallet. Listen, give me your phone. It's just a complete, like, unprovoked act of violence. Granted, the Elder continuously said, yes, it was about, like, oh, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge myself. I want to see if I can still do it. But there's never any grand, big kind of thing about him like, oh, I have been sent here on behalf of, I am working on behalf of, I will kill you in the name of, just
Right.
it's for a challenge. Let's
Yeah.
throw down.
Yeah, because they even make mention to like, oh, his ship also self-destructs after he's destroyed. And I like the idea, like the Elder, the time period seems like it's almost Old Republic. So like the Jedi are in the height of their power and like just patrolling the galaxy, and then that, you know, the Sith have been extinct,
Well,
or the
yeah,
Sith have gone into recession. They're in the
yes,
background, you don't see them, and then there's just this one guy walking around and they have no idea, like, oh, is he Sith or is he something else?
right.
And
'Cause
they obviously don't know until they're locked in combat with him.
to be fair, yes, he did reveal himself as a former Sith who left before the Order, like before it fell apart. Like
Right.
that was revealed. But when I talk about the whole like not knowing motivations, or not necessarily motivations, but not so much knowing too much about him,
Yeah.
other than that, like the fact that he even self-destructed his own ship, it was very much like taking the cyanide capsule, if you will. Like
Yeah.
it destroyed the fucking evidence. Like
Yeah.
there's
And that
nothing.
his body melted away to ash too.
That's what I'm saying. It was like a stranger in the night who, like, imagine if he didn't, like, this mysterious stranger that I've put you in this hypothetical with Tristan. He doesn't walk away. He just disappears and his clothing remains there. You'd be like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I'm gonna stop and or start drinking.
Yeah.
I either have to stop or I have to start. I'm taking a fucking Uber. I should have
Yeah.
taken a fucking Uber.
And I'm calling someone and talking to them on the phone until I get home because, dear God.
That's the way this felt. Like it felt like a horror movie in a way. The way it like not the beginning. Actually, to be fair, there was a little bit of thrill there, of course, but a thriller.
Yeah.
But towards the end, just the body melting away, exploding his ship.
And
We
I
know
feel like
nothing
even,
about him, and they
even
don't
using,
either.
Right. Even using the Padawan as bait to lure out the Master.
Mm-hmm.
And just the sense of unease that the master has at the very beginning of the episode. It's like, oh, I just felt something horrible. He's like, do you know what it was? He's like, no, I don't, and that actually worries me more. We should probably take a look at this.
God, I hate you so much, Tristan. It is very hard to pick my favorite. I thought I knew. I thought it was Toby, and then each and every one. I'm like, well, no, hold on a second.
Oh
Lop
yeah, no, that's the same thing for me. Like each one of these like has very specific moments that I really really enjoy
I don't
and
think
really
we need
love.
to. I don't think we should turn away from Lop and Ocho. Although I do have
Oh
to.
yeah,
It's weird though because with Lop and Ocho, I love the animation. I love the character designs. I love that they can be like, hey, here's like a legit bunny girl. Because like when it comes to the or rabbit girl, but when it comes to the films, to me anyway, they'll make someone like Chewie,
right.
but they won't have someone be a dog man, if that makes sense. Like you won't see like Mark Hamill with dog ears. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
They
yeah.
steered very clear of that, interestingly enough. They've given people like they do have the women that were enslaved. I don't know what the race is, but I know that like in real life they
Oh,
were
the
women.
Twi'lek, the Twin
Uh
Tails.
but yes, by Jabba.
Yes.
Yes. So, but obviously in real life, they're people. They're not like in suits or anything. Like it's they're human, and then they gave them prosthetics and stuff. They've
Right.
done
Yeah.
that, but they really didn't lean into. And tell me if I'm wrong, but in live action form, they have not leaned into. You are a human, but also you have some either ears or some makeup that makes you go dog or cat or snake. I mean, I guess maybe twin tail you can say snake a little bit, snake like. But
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying though, right? Like they
Yeah.
haven't leaned
Um.
into stuff like this. And so seeing her, I was like, wow, this also seems very new for the Star
Yeah.
Wars universe.
It's a very interesting fusion of, well, this is a little more on the anime side of things, but also it still fits within universe because, like you said, we obviously have alien races all throughout the galaxy, so it's not like there couldn't be a race of like rabbit like people.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying that it's wonderful that that's something that while we haven't seen yet, a show like this can give that to us. And
Yeah,
also
exactly.
have this very interesting father-daughter battle of, the new versus the old. And it's interesting by this point with 8 and 9, it seemed like there was a lot of it's not a lot of strong Sith in this show. Like it wasn't just, hey, the Jedi are good, love the Jedi, they're amazing.
Yeah,
Which we don't see that always, but we do see that in plenty of Star Wars media. Like, man, how good are these fucking Jedi? Am I right? It's interesting that not so much that they're pro Sith, but that they've shown very strong Sith as enemies opposing, like they very strong darkness that opposes the light.
oh yeah,
And then in Lop and Ocho, going for more of a political vibe with, hey, do we give up the old ways to look forward for modernization,
right.
or do we say fuck capitalism
Yeah,
and we stick to, it's funny because it's like I sit back and I'm like, man, like that is genuinely a very hard decision because of
right.
course, right, from the bottom of my heart, fuck the empire, right?
Yeah, right.
But also
Exactly.
at the same time,
Fuck the
allegedly
fascists.
they were not exactly. I think that should be pretty obvious. But also they're not doing too hot, I believe. Like I think Ocho was like legit in saying like, look, we're struggling. So I mean, Dad, you're saying things are going to turn out better and that they always do. What if they don't this time?
Right. Yeah,
What
it
is.
is interesting to see. It's kind of like in Mando season 2, seeing things from Mayfield's perspective of, now granted, I'm not saying like I'm not an imperialist sympathizer or anything like that, but just the idea of people in universe don't have the same information that we do. Like us as the audience, we know that the Empire is evil. Palpatine is an evil son of a bitch. And it's just bad all
Yeah,
around.
no, it's also interesting too to note because I mean, I'm sure you probably would know this from like a book or a comic or something, but as someone who's a movie watcher like myself, there isn't like some centralized news television station being like, all right, so here's the thing. Like, there's not even like a large amount of propaganda. You just don't know shit.
There is. It's not as.
No, no, no.
You're right. It's more in books and novels that you learn that type of
Yes.
thing. Like they do have what they call like the HoloNet.
Right.
And
Okay.
there is, especially during like the Clone Wars itself and the Empire as well, like there is shitloads of propaganda pumped out to the
Well,
populace
no,
at all times.
I assume there are posters of propaganda. I meant like now that you mentioned the HoloNet that I didn't know about, like something like that. But I'm
Yeah.
sure like posters and other flyers and like, hey,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
have that, but they do also have their like equivalents of like television and internet and radio.
right. But from what we know outside of those, from I don't know what Disney has kept. Disney just snapped their fingers and then half of canon went away. I think. Kind of went Thanos snapped there with Legends. So, but still, even then, when looking at what Disney considers canon, uh, we haven't seen anything like that. So we don't know how much like because some people would say, oh, turn on the news. In
Yeah.
our universe, turn on, even though it might be mainstream news, turn on the news. Go on the internet to find to read an article from a trusted source.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
it's funny. Rebels does actually have like examples of that, and I feel like the Clone Wars did too. Maybe not as much, but it's
yeah,
more of like depending on where you are in the galaxy, your access to information. Because like if you're in the outer rim, everything's not as built up. You don't have the infrastructure, so like they have like small like bars and taverns. Like they will turn on the news and it'll be the imperial propaganda, and like some people will be like, hey, yeah, it's a local bar, no one gives a fuck, we're out in the middle of nowhere, we don't care what the empire says, until the local stormtrooper garrison comes in and says, hey, you have to have the proper the propaganda the propaganda machine on at all times.
no, that's what I want to call it now. It's the propaganda. No, it's the proper maganda. Okay,
Is that
you got to catch your. I thought you were going to talk about like I thought you were before you said propaganda. I thought you were actually talking about like having a permit for something. You have to have. Does this bar have the proper maganda? All right, that sounds like some fascist shit that you made up just to be able
oh
to
my
storm the
god.
bar.
I mean,
Um.
that would be the empire style, they would
Yes.
totally do that.
Yes. So.
Um,
But
oh, but I think my original point was like with Ocho, like you were saying, she is going to become, or thinks that she will be, the head of the household, and that their house has fallen into decline over the years, and that they have to ally with the empire to industrialize and become like a powerful house again. And Lop being the quote unquote outsider, but obviously she is part of the family, seeing that no, in the end, the Empire will strip away everything that makes us us, and we'll be left with nothing until the planet becomes a dry and withered husk, taken of all its resources and people.
it's just that's the only story, and I don't want them to do a season 2 continuing these stories, but that's like the one story I would want to see more of, because that family dispute, like having I know having the jump too, starting off with like we're a family and they're all so young and everything's fine, and then you just shift to like what 10, 20 years later, I forgot the exact amount of time, and then all of a sudden now there's a divide. Now she's changed. Now she looks at her and says she's not even in the family. Why would you give her the sacred family crest, light sword, laser sword?
Yeah,
And it's like,
that was a
wow.
real. I love the shots specifically of like the Imperial Star Destroyer. Oh yeah, the Star Destroyer sitting hovering over the city. That feels like like that shot, like it's a straight on shot instead of a side view, but that shot is like straight out of like Rogue One when you see the Star Destroyer hovering over Jeddah when they're taking away the Kyber crystals. But also I love the fusion of like a Japanese rite of like inheritance of passing down passing down the family sword to the next in the family, but also it having a small scroll of just talking about how, yeah, there was a Jedi that crashed here, and then they taught our ancestors how to sword fight, and that that type of deal, and like even maybe interact with the Force. Just having that as a little like aside was really nice. And it's the idea that you don't have to, like, all these little aside stories like don't necessarily fit into the canon understanding of what we know of the Jedi and the Sith. or even the galaxy as a whole, of how things technically should work. But it's just a cool little. It's a cool way to mix all of these ideas together and just have fun with it.
And that's the key here, right? Is
Yeah.
having that fun with it. That then, for me, it's infectious.
Yeah, taking an old idea and putting a new, like, semi small little twist on it. Like, okay, I know this isn't exactly how it works in universe, but like, kind of just toy with it. Just like, imagine if we did it this way, or imagine if we could go in this direction. Just see where we went. Yeah, Lop and Ocho, the Ninth Jedi, definitely. Even the twins, the duel. Maybe even Tatooine. Like, I honestly would love to see continuations, but I think Lop and Ocho and the Ninth Jedi probably have the strongest, like, or even Akakiri too, just to see where that ends up going.
Yeah, so I wanna get all these names right. So when it comes to Lop and Ocho, that was done by Gene Studio. Oh, I'm sorry, Geno Studio. When it comes to Studio Trigger, they actually ended up doing both the twins and the Elder, which you could tell for the twins. I couldn't tell for the Elder because they didn't go as stylistic as they did with Promare for the twins. And it's funny, I haven't seen Promare, but I've seen so many screenshots of it. It was a newer
Right.
film of theirs. You've probably seen screenshots around. That one got a theatrical release. So seeing that, I was like, oh yeah, the twins is them. Didn't notice it was them for the Elder.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, when it comes to Kinema Citrus, I think I said Circus before. Kinema Citrus. Actually, I want to make sure. Yes, they did the Village Bride, which was, again, that opening shot was so
Yeah,
fucking
beautiful.
gorgeous. And I knew what was coming, like the whole, like, okay, she's going to help them out. Like,
Yeah,
it made,
reveal herself as a Jedi.
yes, of course.
I love her
But-
character design too.
Yes, but what I love is that I love a few things about that episode. The first is that even though I know it's coming, it's still it's a tried and true formula of
Oh yeah.
look, I'm not going to help anymore. I'm out of the game. You're not even going to help now when she's going to die horribly
In front of you.
in
Yeah.
front of you, and it's like fuck you, and it's like, are you going to be this upset when she's going to die in front of you horribly? So she's like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And also, again, it's funny. So I felt weird about the Boba Fett and the Jabba the Hutt cameo earlier on. The reason why is because, to me, those are really fucking big characters.
Yeah.
However, I love the droids that were
Yeah.
reprogrammed because, yes, they're technically a cameo, but like they're just droids in the universe. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Like
yeah.
those specific. I'm sorry, I should clarify. It's funny. Earlier, I was like, I fucking love you, droids, and I'm just like, who gives a shit? Specifically, those wonderful idiots from Episode 1. Those specific droids.
Your organic bias is showing, my friend.
Those specific droids.
Yeah,
that are
the
like,
B1 battle droids.
yes, that are like, I love them so much because literally, it's just like they would like. So recently, just funnily enough, I'm going to mention him again. I've been playing Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle for a future review that's coming out for our Game Time channel. So Jason Voorhees is on the mind. Jason would literally be cutting them in half, ripping them, and they'd be like, wow, I think we're getting serial killed. Roger Dodger. Like, they're just so fucking stupidly funny. Like,
Yeah, and it's hilarious because you only ever see the B1s be, the silly, like, stupid, mindless droids, and yet, well, I mean, granted, actually in Episode 1, they're actually sort of intimidating and terrifying. Granted, in numbers, like, if there's only a few of them, they're pretty easily to disarm and dispatch. But,
that's
like,
the thing that Lucas
you get
did
a
with
whole
them.
wave of them thrown at you, and you're in trouble. Like, that's their whole bit. Like, they're supposed to be thrown at you in waves.
Well, what Lucas did with them was interesting, right? Because what he did was he was like, okay, we're going to have them be intimidating in the sense that, like, yes, like the Jedi have to get through hordes of them to win. Not so much that they're going to kill the Jedi, but like you got to get through hordes of them to win. But also, he wants them to be funny and merchandisable. So he makes them like have these quips.
Right, especially in
Um,
like the animated series,
oh yeah,
you see them be a little more silly too. Like Clone Wars is notorious. There's so many clips of battle droids, and some of those one-liners like had me gasping. I'm not gonna lie,
no, no,
like
no.
just laughter wise.
Yeah, they were so fucking funny. So that's the thing. Like they were such a fun addition to this because, and I believe whatever voice actor they have doing their voice, they got that person back because it sounded just like they did in episode one.
Right.
Absurdly,
Yeah.
like if I closed my eyes, it would sound like a clip from episode one.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
yeah.
another point. Like I love how much all of these episodes like take from the entire universe as a whole. Like it's not just we're not just gushing over the original trilogy in these. Like we've got references to the sequels, we've got references to the prequels, we've got references to Legends material, like small stuff and maybe not even a direct reference itself, but ideas that have just been in all forms of medium of Star Wars.
So I want to talk about production IG, just keeping on with the animation studios. So they did the Ninth Jedi. Also, I somehow missed this as I was just going about trying to talk about everything. Not only did they do something which just hit me now as I was trying to talk about something else, they did Star Fox Zero: The Battle Begins.
Oh right, yeah.
Didn't know about that, but I also somehow didn't know, or at the very least forgot, that they did the 2019, that's still going on to this day, Ultraman show. I assume the one that's on Netflix.
Right.
They are doing that. That's amazing. So, also talking about Science Saru, who we missed before because they were buried in some other links that I had. So, Science Saru has actually done fucking Space Dandy, Garo the Animation, Devilman Crybaby. They did, specifically when it comes to Visions, I want to make sure, Akakiri
Yeah.
and Toby,
Oh
which
wow. Okay.
are so
Yeah.
fucking different.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I kind of see it now, and like when you saw like the more action-oriented scenes in Toby, I can see how that links to like how Akakiri looked. But yeah, the styles are definitely a bit are different.
I still can't believe they did Space Dandy.
Yeah.
Sadly, nothing else that you would know, though. Looking at, they did a Crayon Shinchan movie, Yokai Watch movie, and another Crayon Shinchan movie, but you aren't familiar with those franchises, and like I'm vaguely familiar with them.
Yeah.
So no, it's just really cool that God, I hate it so much because as we're talking about this, I'm like, man, I love this so much, but I a couple days ago we were talking about this, like I've made peace and I want to be like, I love this so much, but I want to love it as a singular piece of media that we can go back to. We can, you and I can watch it together. We can try
Right.
to get friends to watch it, maybe some who've never seen Star Wars or have seen bits and pieces or haven't seen it since they were kids, to like try to watch it, like anime fans exclusive. How do you feel about this take on Star Wars? It would be so interesting, but I just, God, there's a part of me that's just like, but let it be this one piece
Yeah.
and not turn into Star Wars Vision season 7.
Right. Yeah. I know what you mean. Like trying to replicate this magic over and over and over again would eventually lead to its own downfall. I get that. And I I wouldn't, like you said, like 7 seasons, like that might be a lot. Like I would like to see maybe 2 or 3, but I would like to see them have different like ideas, like I mentioned earlier, like overarching ideas, like maybe have a collection of like smugglers or looking at the political landscape specifically. Let's have an episode of trade allegations there.
I love I love most of that, not all of it, but the problem is though is that if they ever did something like this again, so I've already said my piece about, oh, they would do sequels, but let's say they didn't. Let's say they were like, no, 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 let's let sleeping dogs lie, right?
Yeah.
However, you think they're gonna pass up doing more shit with Jedi and Sith? Really?
Yeah, well, that would be interesting. What if they did one that was specifically like looking at the Sith?
No, I think that I don't know. I don't think that's I don't want to. I'm not trying to gatekeep here. or I'm not trying to say what is and isn't Star Wars, but I feel like it's not Star Wars to only focus on one side.
True. Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't think they
It's always
would.
about the balance that's in the middle.
Yes.
It's never about one side outweighing the other. You never want too much good and you never want too much evil.
Like, and don't get me wrong, Star Wars can just ditch the Jedi and Sith completely, but I would feel weird to just have one series be specifically focused on the Jedi. Now, you could focus on a Jedi. I'm not saying that. And you
Yeah.
could maybe argue if you focus on a Sith, but if you just make a whole season just about different Sith, then it feels like you're, again, not necessarily doing the battle of good and evil, because in the case of this show, they actually did a good job of focusing on both, not just in their struggles against each other, but in the struggles of going to the dark side or of coming back to the light side.
Yeah, true.
And I think that was very interesting. And before we talk about that, I want to mention the last animation studio that I mentioned earlier. I talked about their work with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the openings, stuff like that. This specifically was Kamikaze Doga. I want to talk about the fact that they actually did The Duel. So fuck yes.
Yeah.
Holy shit. But yeah, so I want to talk about the Ninth Duel before we get into some actors and then we start to wrap up a little. So talking about the Ninth Jedi, which it's a great time to talk about it when I accidentally closed the tab for Visions.
There you go. I think I specifically love the idea of having a lightsaber smith, like a forge where they create lightsabers.
You need one.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because most Jedi build their own lightsabers, so like the idea of a swordsmith here is like a foreign concept, but really interesting because and I love the idea that they introduced of like the lightsaber itself doesn't take on its color until the wielder like holds it. And that
Oh.
that obviously plays into the twist of the episode.
Is that not a thing in lore?
No, it's not.
Oh, it sounds like
Usually,
something that would have happened.
yeah, usually a Jedi will go to it's a specific planet, usually Ilum back at like in the Republic days. The Kyber Crystal itself calls out to you through the Force, and you make a connection with it, and you use that crystal, and then you build the lightsaber around it with the Force.
Right. But like but the thing though is so the Kyber crystal
Yeah.
in I'm talking about in other media here. Is that what's a different color?
Yes, the like Kyber crystals. It depends on what media you're looking at. Like primarily they're blue and green, but depending on where you look, there are various other colors. I know within canon more recently they've like red was a natural occurring one, but now they've turned it to kind of an interesting idea that I like is that the red kyber crystals that the Sith specifically use are corrupted crystals. It is a manipulation and a bending of the will through the Force that the Sith command.
Okay.
So they basically make the kyber crystal itself cry out in pain and bleed, and that's why it's red. And that is terrifying and metal as fuck. And I honestly love that description.
I was also going to say it's metal as fuck.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's definitely interesting. So I assumed that was not the case only because like it seems it's very interesting when you learn stuff about Star Wars, like different forms of media, because when they explain stuff, they interestingly have it be very, I don't want to say scientific, but like it's like, oh yes, because obviously the crying out in pain is not scientific. That's the part that's a fantasy. But before that, talking about like, no, they go to this planet and then they mine it and then they build it. And I'm just like, that doesn't sound like fantasy. It sounds like science class.
You're basically still hearing a crystal whisper your name in a cave in the middle of God knows where.
Oh, okay. Now you're making it more fantasy. Right. It sounded like, yeah. But I thought that the idea of having someone who is a swordsmith, it makes sense because I don't know why. I'm not saying it's never happened in the movies, but for some reason it just didn't click for me. It's been a while probably that, oh yeah, people can break lightsabers.
Oh yeah.
That can be a thing.
Yeah.
So it's just been, to me, I think of someone as a lightsaber collector rather than like, I'm going to go around breaking all of them.
Right.
So to have to, but when it really clicks, like, right, yes, they could be broken. Oh man, you gotta have someone making them. You can't just be like, oh no, I made it myself. Well, that's very limiting because you what if you die?
Right.
Can someone else use your lightsaber? If so, then cool. But what if they break your lightsaber? You were the one who made it. You're dead. So
And in the idea of like what's happening in the Ninth Jedi, like it seems like the Sith have it is that reversal where the Sith are the ones in power and the Jedi are on the back burner.
yes,
And that maybe they just like they only have the one other initiate that is to be a Jedi. And he knows nothing. Like he has the connection to the Force and he feels that and he can wield it fairly well. But like he doesn't know anything about like using a lightsaber and like he needs help to be taught that. So the idea of having a sabersmith in the other main character's father, her father being a sabersmith, is actually very important because then if not for him, no one would know how to make them. And it was interesting in this one how they're like, it kind of feels like, oh, the lightsaber makes the Jedi in the way because like, here's your lightsaber, you're a Jedi now. Obviously, that's not the message really, but it feels a little bit like that at the very beginning. But then, as I believe it was Kana, I believe her name is, the daughter,
Kara.
Kara. Okay, I knew it was close. You know, Kara's always like, oh, you know, it's funny how her father just tosses her a lightsaber and she like, oh yeah, you know, I like the build on this one. And, you know, she's like, oh, I can never really make it change fully, you know, to a specific color to signify that, you know, it's chosen me. But yet she can pick one up and wield it around like nobody's business. Whereas, you know, the canon idea is like, yeah, anyone can physically pick up a lightsaber and turn it on and swing it around, but the idea of being proficient with it is not something that is inherent in anyone who just picks it up.
Yeah, but dude,
so like just the idea, no, like just the idea that she has that ability, like, and like I was wondering, I'm like, I assume her father understood that, oh yeah, no, you're going to be one of the people that gets one of these, like, don't you worry.
No, but I mean,
in the back of his mind.
I don't believe they said it out loud.
No, it was building up to it. Obviously.
No. What I'm getting at is, that wasn't her first time picking up a lightsaber. Her dad makes them, so she's probably been doing that for years now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why she's proficient.
Yeah, but even still, like, I mean, even just being around them enough, like, yeah, you'd pick up somewhat of a knack for them, but like, she's a natural because when she speeds off on the speeder bike and she gets attacked, she's bouncing back laser bolts and she even cuts the speeder bikes. Oh, there's another reference. It literally out of Return of the Jedi, the speeder bike chase. They even go through a forest at one point.
Right, yes, that is true. That's the one that I noticed.
I lost my shit when I saw that. I'm like, oh, we getting a speeder bike chase? Hell yeah.
To be fair, yeah, that's the one that I noticed. I was like, you know, because I didn't notice that there were any other kind of like, other than characters, I didn't notice moments that were taken from the films or any other media. But that one, I was like, yeah, that's.
And the one at one point when she's sliding across the ice and times it just right to slice the bike. Oh, that was golden.
I love that episode simply because it was one that I initially, when watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be about this one guy. And then it turned into an ensemble cast, really. Yeah. And it focused on her just as much, if not more than him. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is actually really cool. And what I also thought was interesting is just talking about the Margrave for a second.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, if you've seen this, if you're listening to this, you've seen the twist. But I really did believe that the Margrave was, like, actually some secret evil Sith.
Yeah, that he was the Sith Lord.
And then when we didn't see the Margrave after a bit, I was like, oh, never mind. The Margrave is probably, like, dead or some shit. And one of them, if not the Margrave, one of those dudes, one of those, whoever, you know, they are, right? One of these people who are here are secretly an evil Sith. So to take that and go, actually, motherfucker, to me personally, I took it personally. They were like, no, Matt, fuck you. Everyone is the Sith.
Yeah, because it's funny saying that, like, even my dad, like, when we were watching it, he was like, oh, shit, they're all Sith. And I had seen it beforehand, so I almost started laughing. I was like, yeah, no, that was my reaction, too.
Yeah, because like I just thought that it was going. I think I actually might have said out loud, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Because yeah, you look at it and you're like, no, it's gonna be, oh yeah, the Margrave is gonna be this guy. Oh yeah, no, first again, Margrave is evil. Oh, Margrave is one of them. Oh wait, maybe Margrave is dead and one of them is the evil intruder. Ah, never mind. They've all infiltrated together. Like they were all trying to keep it together. They're just like trying not to laugh the whole fucking time.
Yeah. Well, it was just like, oh, well, now we have the lightsabers, so we're gonna kill you all now. Wait, what?
No, but like just imagine, no, because like yes, you can imagine that they all came together, like they knew that they were all. But imagine if they just didn't know they were going to be there.
Yeah, right.
I'm infiltrating this place. No, I'm infiltrating there. Oh my god, let's not tell Tom. Let's not tell him. Let's not tell him. Let's not tell him. What do you mean we have to? No, let's not tell him. Let's not tell him. And then literally, like when Tom saw them, he was like, "These motherfuckers." He didn't tell me we were infiltrating. But
And
no,
that's even kind of like another like sub ideology of the Sith itself. Like, do you have many, not as powerful but more in numbers Sith that band together, or do you have only very few Sith but very powerful Sith?
and I think it just goes either direction depending on when you're, like, what part of the canon you're in.
Yeah, that and what serves to what serves as a means to their ends at the time, because like in that situation they're going up against one powerful Jedi, but there's multiple opponents, there's multiple Sith. But once the Jedi are removed from the picture, the Sith are always power hungry, so eventually they would all just cannibalize each other until there is only the one powerful one left to then take the mantle of true Sith.
What I find very interesting about this episode, and I don't think they meant to do it this way, but because there were so many Sith and because they knew each other, they this weird thing happened where the Margrave, who, like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see a powerful Jedi, and again, look, the Jedi are gonna have to kill some people sometimes because not because they want to, but because it's literally self-defense. But the way they framed it and filmed it, it was oddly funny to me because it looked like the Jedi Margrave was like the big bad Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees killing these poor defenseless Sith. I mean, he hung that one guy off the end.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, hold on. You're like, I was like, is the Margrave evil?
Yeah, he sliced a bunch of them in half, and then he pushed that one guy. Well, I don't know whether he was fighting him or the one guy that falls onto like the focusing crystal on
Yeah.
like the window panel and just like bursts into flames.
Yes, I was like, very interesting choice when he is the Jedi.
Yeah, I thought he was just gonna like fall through and crack through it and just fall and you don't see him, but no, he just like he screams the Margrave's name and bursts into flames. I was like, oh,
Okay.
all right then.
Uh, Something I found weird, and I asked you about this before we even did the show because I found it so odd and so strange. And for the most part, these shorts were all wrapped up very well, I feel. Even if
Yeah.
I didn't like the end of one of them, they still wrapped up well, I feel. They told their story in a way that I think was so oddly effective. There's a reason why they went for animation studios that mostly do shorts because they
Right.
told their story so effectively, so powerfully. But the only weak link, I feel, the only weak link was at the end of the Ninth Jedi, out of all of them, was the end of the Ninth Jedi, where one of the Sith, because the other Sith weren't there anymore, his quote was, oh, because the Margrave was like, this isn't you. And he was like, you know what? It's not. No, his actual quote was, oh, it isn't me. Because their influence isn't here. Like, that was the gist of it.
Yeah.
That is not something you've ever seen in canon.
No, not to that degree, I guess.
Well, yeah, because you look at episode 9, Akakiri, and, like, yes, arguably the influence of the Sith affected him, right? But it wasn't as quick as, I mean, she's right near me, so I gotta fucking do some Sith shit.
Yeah, and no, that like Akakiri kind of pulls on the on Anakin and Padme's relationship of Anakin falling to the dark side, being tormented by visions of the future of his wife dying. In this case, the main character seeing his love dying in front of him.
But I have to
Or
say though, it was a lot. It hit a lot harder than episode 3, and I like episode 3 for the most part. But having him be the one who killed her physically,
yeah,
and not just you're breaking my heart.
yeah, the fact
Like,
that the Shogun dresses her up as an enemy and him in the heat of battle, not paying attention to his surroundings, slashes right through her. Yeah, that was
I was broken.
yeah.
Fuck him. Fuck Tsubaki. I was
You were
pained.
broken.
No, because like, his master was right, and he shouldn't have gone there. I don't know
Yeah.
what would have happened to her, but like literally, he's like, no, you can't go there because this will happen. And
Yeah.
I just truly believed that if it wasn't gonna, like, that either it wasn't gonna happen, or if it did happen, he would then hurt her, the person who made
Yeah.
him do that. And the
Right.
fact that because he fell to anger, because he
Yeah.
fell to the Sith, because it had broken him, and also the fact that she agreed to bring her back to life, even though it wouldn't really matter to him because he could never see her again, but just knowing that she would be alive,
Right.
to me that hits way harder than even just the mere existence of Vader. Because here's the thing, right? It he I mean, it's funny in movies. I'm sure there's comics and books about this, but in the movies, he accepted, quote unquote, accepted that she died. Now, granted, he's evil about it, but he's not trying to be like, oh, I will do anything to bring her back. The fact that he was like, the fact that it was the opportunity was given to bring her back, brings her back, but goes, but now because I brought you back using these evil means, I can never see you again. That hits so much fucking harder than Anakin screaming, "No!" In your rage, you killed her. I feel like that's not something that I would do. No, you totally did it, bro. No, no, no. Look, I'm many things, all right. But I don't think I would have done that in anger. No, you pretty much did. You want to? See, she died. It's in the news.
I have the security footage. I can play it back for you.
No, it's just. I look. I'm just saying. It's on the HoloNet. She's dead. No, no, no. She's dead. Sure, and that's awful. I hate that. But I did not do it. I'm pretty sure you did. He's like, no, I don't think I did it. That's how he says.
God.
That's how he says no. No, but like you see what I mean. Like it was obviously melodramatic for a reason. That's the story that Lucas was telling at that time. But in this case, I'm not saying it wasn't necessarily melodramatic, but like it hit in a way. It resonated. The chord that it rang resonated with me in a way that episode 3, as much as I enjoy it, didn't, because it just made me feel like, oh my god, like even though she's alive, he feels like he cannot see her because of how he did
He's
it.
already fallen at that point and
Yeah.
failed in a way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. Yeah, because of how it happened, using. Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, it's just. It hit. I don't like that it was the last episode. It ended on a very strange note.
I feel like that was a really kind of depressing note to like end on.
It definitely should not have been. I think that, honest to God, and I'm not gonna be the person, the Dragon Ball Z lover here, that's like, it should have been episode 3. No, honestly, it should have been episode 6. Having the last episode be about breathing new life into the world.
Yeah, I feel like either the Ninth Jedi or Toby probably would have been better as like the ninth episode.
No, yeah, definitely. Episode 6, by the way, if anyone who wasn't keeping track, that is Toby. And episode 3, if anyone wasn't keeping track, that's the one with Neil Patrick Harris. I don't want to say that one should be the last one, the twins, because of the fact that, like, it's very Dragon Ball Z fan of me to be like, that should be the end. That should be the final one, the big, because it was a huge episode in scope. with what it
Yeah.
did, and it also dealt with similar themes of seeing the future but not being able to fight it. I think it was very interesting. We kind of skipped over that one, and I want to say that I really do enjoy it, actually. Like, as a story, visually it was stunning. Did you not like it as much?
Yeah, I probably another. I mean, I don't. Depending on who you ask, I guess. I didn't. The Twins is probably the weakest one for me personally.
Interesting. I think
I
it was the
felt like
weakest. I think it was the weakest acting wise. But why do you think
like
that separately?
I. You'd think me of all people, like I love over the top action sequences, but like this felt like how I've been saying, like all the other stuff like bends the rules a bit, but still feels like it has a place in the universe and fits. This felt a little too shonen anime to fit in universe, and
That's
that's not a
why.
bad thing.
Yeah, that's why I liked it, and I think that's another one. Funnily enough, if we're talking about, actually, that's really funny. Talking about one, two, and three. One, two, and three are the best to be in order. The best order, showing you exactly what this series can do in the most radical fucking ways.
Yeah, yeah, that I agree with. But yeah, I feel like it did push that boundary. Like it, it leaned into the anime side real hard, and
It's funny. I like it that it did that because it was so radically different that I want to believe that someone like this dude can exist out there. We just don't see them often.
right. Well, it's fun. That would be if you ever played The Force Unleashed. Like your powers in that are fucking crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and like that would definitely lend itself to like the fight in the Twins. Like maybe not the way they flew around in space and like splitting a star destroyer in half with your lightsaber, but force powers wise, like yeah,
And that's the thing, like just going
all
harder
out.
than they ever needed to.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but you know what it is? It's doing it in the way that Studio Trigger does.
Yeah, right. It is very on brand for them.
Yes. But no, I understand why you would say that's the weakest. I think arguably that could really be the weakest. I think, I mean, between that one, maybe Lop and Ocho, even though I love that one, it's very hard to find a weak link here in
Yeah,
this fantastic fucking series.
it's
Again,
funny
visually
like
and story
online
wise.
wise, and even just looking at IMDb like ratings and reviews, like
Hmm.
Tatooine Rhapsody seemingly is the weakest in everybody else's book, but that's a personal favorite for
But
me. So
you know what though?
whatever.
That's the thing is, they're right. I disagree, but they're right. Now, how can I have both at the same time, right?
How dare you?
No, but how can I have both when I disagree with them, but they're right? I think in scope, in scale, right? Uh, the twins went too big for you, and I think for others, Tatooine Rhapsody was too
Small.
small.
Yeah.
I not that I disagree, but I like that it's a bit more intimate, that it's a bit more small.
Yeah.
I just think that would also imagine, and this is a hypothetical here. Haven't seen negativity about it. I have a feeling maybe some people were like, Jabba could have just shot them all. Really, the power of music. I'm sure maybe that's probably, but for me, I'm like, this isn't meant to be the show where they all get shot. Like, it's nice to have a little good in the universe.
Yeah.
That
Right.
was it's a non-canon thing. Let's have some fun. But I would
Right.
imagine that there are probably some out there who are like, Jabba, if it was real, Jabba would have killed them all. And I'm like, well, Jabba's not real, so fuck it. Like, if it
But
was,
yeah,
yeah.
I
So
I definitely like each of these episodes has very phenomenal things about it that I loved in each. There's not one episode where I couldn't point out something that I love this about this specific one.
And speaking of, let's actually talk about some of the voice actors that were in this series. So, the Elder was played by James Hong, who, if you're not familiar with the name, you've definitely heard his voice. He was Mr. Ping in Kung Fu Panda. He was Mr. Gao in Turning Red. Also, he was Daolon Wong in Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's been in so much shit. You probably know his face. Have you seen the original Blade Runner?
I haven't.
Well,
I need to see
don't
that. Yeah.
worry For anyone that's about to kill him, you have to kill me too. I haven't seen it.
Oh, all right.
He was Hannibal Chew.
Podcast.
Well, it's a bit like Star Wars. Which version are we watching? Crack open a fucking beer. Oh, he voiced several characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah.
So he's a phenomenal actor, and again, you hearing him as the Elder. You've probably heard him.
Yeah, his was another voice that I was like, oh, I know you. I just don't remember where.
And that's the beautiful thing, hearing some actors that you're like, I know you. Oh, so the quote unquote main character, who I thought was going to be the main character, in the Ninth Jedi, was played by Simu Liu, who, if you're like, I've heard that name, he was Shang-Chi.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yes, I did not think that they got Shang-Chi for this.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was really cool to see him in this, and it's funny though, and I hate to say this, I loved him in Shang-Chi. Here though, he was the weakest link in that episode, like voice acting wise. Like maybe he hasn't done a lot of voiceover work, or again, I do think that maybe there was an issue with budget. They're like, listen, we only have so much time in the fucking studio.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in so many anime. If there is an anime out there that you, the listener, is like, man, I did not like how that actor sounded, there's a very good chance that was their one and only take.
Right. Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if that's similar, that happened in this situation as well. There are too many actors. We cannot cover them all, but I want to cover a few because there's some that I know that have actually been in other Star Wars projects that appeared here. Oh, here's one. So Andrew Kishino was actually Saw Gerrera on Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Bad Batch.
Right. Yeah.
He was actually in The Village Bride. He played Izuma, which again, another thing where you're like, I know who that is, and you just don't. So I think maybe we have to rewatch the series. Just maybe hang out, just get some beers, and just rewatch the series together. Because by the way, I loved how short it was as well. Obviously, they're shorts, but like I love that it was just so easy to just binge because, and it's not a Star Wars thing. It's just a general thing because there's so much content out there. There are some shows that it doesn't matter if they're great, doesn't matter if they're bad. The second you hit me with, oh, this is 43 minutes, I'm like, I gotta make time for this show. And it's frustrating too. I mean, John and I, any longtime listeners know that John and I have done an eclectic set of stuff on this podcast, but he and I have talked about Star Trek TNG, and each episode is 40 some odd minutes, and that's just hard to fit in to just talk about, especially for an hour or two, 1 to 2 episodes. Whereas a show like this was like, I think it took me about 2.5 hours to watch the whole thing. So it wasn't just a breath of fresh air, but it literally was a breath. Like you could hold on to it because of how short it was versus, look at something like The Mandalorian, right? If I was talking about this versus the first season of The Mandalorian, it would be very difficult to find which one is quote unquote better.
Right.
But I do enjoy, again, The Mandalorian, just kind of going from place to place. It's when there's a season 2 and then there's a season 3 coming up, and Book of Boba Fett had some stuff from Mandalorian in it that you're like, oh man, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. Where this, like I mentioned earlier, it really helped rekindle my love of Star Wars.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I'm really happy to hear you say that. Like, because I know, especially nowadays, there are a lot of people that are kind of burnt out on the content. And, like, yeah. I understand that, and that's fine. Like, if you feel like you need to move on, you move on. But
well, that's the thing, right? It's not even about moving on. It's about there shouldn't be a movie or TV show series, and this is also true of Marvel as well, in a way, really, that you go, oh, I've fallen behind to that extent. Right. You can say, oh, I've fallen behind on TNG. It's on season such and such. But with how interconnected now these shows are being that really shouldn't be, it's absurd to me to be like, oh, I've fallen behind on XYZ, even though technically it's not the actual show for so-and-so, but they're in it, so I have to watch it just for so... Like, at that point you're going to start to lose people.
Right.
By the way, I want to talk about Kari Hiroyuka Tagawa, who he was in Mortal Kombat 11, but also he was Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat film, like the first one, like the 1995 version. He's been in so many different movies. You probably have seen his face somewhere. He was actually in, I want to see, he was specifically in The Village Bride as well. He played Valko. And Stephanie Sheh, who you definitely know her voice. She's an anime voice actress. She's been in so much stuff. She was in The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, Eureka 7, Sword Art Online, Fate/Stay Night, Fooly Cooly, Sailor Moon, the redub. So many different... Oh, she was in something called Bleach. I think you've heard of it, Tristan. She was that... You might have heard of this character. She was Orihime. You heard of Orihime in Bleach? Have you heard of this Naruto show? This new Naruto show?
Oh boy.
She was Hinata. Which, now that I think about Hinata and Orihime's voice, how the fuck did I not crack that shitty code sooner? How the fuck was I sitting here like, who voices these two characters?
It's okay, it's fair. I don't think I made the connection either.
She has such an amazing range, but those two characters are very close.
Yeah.
And by the way, and I wanted to clarify before I said it, she was also in Your Name.
Oh shit, nice.
So I fucking love her work so much.
Yeah.
She was multiple characters throughout the series, but it was one of those things where if you watch the credits, which I did every single episode, you can see that some people just became additional voices. They were labeled like, oh, so and so, but it was mostly like Villager #1. So you had a bunch of actors kind of just like they definitely, it felt very much like a cartoon situation where they're like, hey, do you want to do like 8 people in about like 2 hours?
Right. Yeah.
Just to save on budget. So I do wonder, I'm sure we will never know, but I do wonder how much the budget was for this show, because it felt very much like they were, I say like a cartoon, but also again like anime as well. They were very much trying to get this done as soon as possible. When you look at the smaller pool of actors in some cases, and in other cases, they definitely went really, like, to get Joseph Gordon-Levitt and David Harbour, and also fucking get Neil Patrick Harris, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Allison Brie, like, these names that, like, are pretty big, I would say. Like, it's very interesting. And also, by the way, Kyle McCarley, I don't know if you know who that is. He was in Iron-Blooded Orphans, Mob Psycho 100. He was Shigeo Kageyama. He was Narancia Girga from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Vento, oh, that's part 5. He's been in Fire Emblem Echoes and Fire Emblem Three Houses. He was Gatekeeper in Fire Emblem Three Houses, if that means anything to you. He actually, I think he was a bunch of different characters in the show. He was Toguro in The Ninth Jedi.
Huh, alright, yeah.
To which? To his name or to the name of the character?
Indeed.
Indubitably.
That thing that you just said immediately there, yes, I concur.
Ah, of course. So we have to start wrapping this up because we are breaking down.
The force that binds me together is leaving me as I speak.
I'm slowly melting like the Elder.
I'm turning into ashes, and I spite your very name. Or just be like the multiple Sith in each of these episodes. Oh, I've been impaled.
Who amongst us hasn't? There are... God, I just can't keep on talking about... Masi Oka. Masi Oka. No, I have to talk about him.
Yeah.
You do not know him from Hawaii Five-0. You don't. However, he actually produced the Death Note live-action movie. Like the US one on Netflix.
Oh, right.
Also, he played Hito Nakamura on Heroes, if you remember that show. I never saw it, but I saw like bits and pieces of it back in the day. We were a bit young for it.
Right.
Do you remember Heroes? It was like that, literally that superhero show, but like that live action. It was on NBC.
I don't.
I don't think I do.
Well, I'm shaking my head in disappointment. Despite the fact that I've never seen it, mind you, but I'm still
Okay.
shaking my head in disappointment. Have you ever seen? This is going to be a very weird a cameo, but I remember this cameo vividly because of where he was in the film. Have you ever seen the third Austin Powers movie?
I have not. I know of it.
There was one scene, you've probably seen this because I probably sent it to you when we were in high school. The
Probably.
scene with Godzilla, quote unquote. It is not legally Godzilla.
Right. Oh,
He
yes.
was
I
he was
remember you saying that.
he was that pedestrian. Literally his role was Japanese pedestrian. He was the guy who walked up and said, "But legally it is not."
Right.
Super weird that I'm like, "Wow," cuz I saw his face and I was like, "You are very familiar, but from what?" And he was a Japanese pedestrian in the film. In Death Note, he also played Detective Sasaki, and he's actually the producer for a he co-created a video game development company, Mobius Digital. I heard that name and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah,
They
that's
they created Outer Wilds.
right. I knew I'd heard that recently.
So he is the co-creator of the company that created Outer Wilds. What an interesting way. And when it comes to digital effects, he worked on the specifically visual effects production and technical support for Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace.
Oh, well, there you go.
And then digital effects artist for Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So interesting to see how he's been part of the Star Wars universe franchise before even getting to voice a character in it. It's absurd.
Right. Yeah.
But either way, we have to wrap it up. Dear God, I want to talk about Patrick Seitz, an amazing voice actor who you've heard in like Helsing and stuff, but we can't. We have to fucking wrap this up. We will be here all day.
And all night.
What's important is I just want to say I'm happy that I'm interested in Star Wars again. Maybe I should play Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes, you should.
Probably should. I recently have I got Xbox Game Pass and it's on Game Pass, so should probably beat that on Game Pass. Might as well. It's just no, yeah. I'm slowly getting back into Star Wars again. You know, the new Obi-Wan show is coming out. I don't know how badly they could fuck that up, but you know. I mean, I don't think they can do anything absurd. Like, I don't think Mandalorian is going to be... I don't think Boba Fett's going to be flying in.
Uh, mm, I mean, technically could.
I know he
Probably
technically
not,
could.
but technically.
No, I know technically he could.
But no, probably not.
I really fucking hope not.
Yeah.
Well, no, you know what's funny? I'm going to keep it real. If, and we're going to really wrap this up. If they did not introduce Boba Fett in Mandalorian, it would have been cool to see him pop up in the Obi-Wan show. Now that they've introduced him, it's just more canon for him to have another, let's say, show or season or something to then be like, oh, and I met Obi-Wan. Like, it doesn't all need to come together at some point. Like, you can watch, I want to be able to watch one show and be like, that was a nice show, and then move on. And I feel like Visions, as of this point, is that show. Crossing my fingers that this podcast does not age horribly.
Yeah.
Either way.
All right. Well, we'll see you in 2 to 3 years, and Disney will be looking at us like you poor, poor fools.
Let's see, 3 years. Star Wars Visions Season 9 is out.
And Matt's just crying and shaking his head.
In disappointment.
You were the chosen one!
Disney's like, I hate you. Oh.
I hate you!
We love you all. Take care. And thank you for listening to Through the Force. Happy May the 4th. And may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. All things are possible through the Force.